Is America the problem? Is America the problem? Instead of resolving, curing, preventing, and destroying the very same evils that run rampage in this world, are we contributors of these ideologies? Has the moral fabric of the American people that are aligned with principles of discrimination, racism, supremacy, hatred, envy, these demonic realities, are they being profited and profitable or becoming profitable in this country based off of the socially engineered hate? All racism is hate. It's all it is at its core. It's sort of like a child of hatred. All of this stuff boils down to hatred, envy, and enmity. And is America the problem? Is the curse of madness in effect in American society? I live out here in Orange County, California. Beautiful community. All the aesthetics. The grass is cut. Everything looks clean, safe on the surface. Get in my truck, take my daughter to daycare, my 2-year old. I get so much negative energy from the white community here in this environment. It's almost as if like they don't want to even see a black father here. And safety isn't always just I can leave my bike outside on the front yard. I can leave my car doors open. Safety isn't always just limited to there's no crime, there's no violence. And you may be violence or crime free, but you could still be emotionally unsafe and dangerous and destructive to be around based off of your attitude, based off of your energy and how you treat people. And human beings are not naive. They pay attention to how you treat them. Human beings are sensitive to disrespect, especially around their children. And I'm taking my daughter to daycare every day, and I'm just like, why are these white folks so angry? Because that's all that's out here. And it's a couple of Hispanics, that be doing yard work, but even they're just giving me like the most. In Detroit, we call it mean mugging. They are gritting you. They're looking at you with just these eyes of just like hatred, no smiles, no positive energy, just mad. And I'm just like, what the fuck did I do? I don't know you guys. But it's this American curse where it's becoming so sophisticated over time where people just hate just to hate. You're just minding your business, taking your daughter to daycare. But the society is becoming so problematic morally where you can't avoid the hate. Even when I was in the military in Iraq, fighting for my country, trying to do the right thing, I'm still getting hatred from white people in different cultures, Hispanics too. I'm just like, what the fuck is the problem? Aren't we on the same team? Is America the problem? Or is this a condemned space spiritually with what we're seeing? I'm paying attention to the news and the media, and there's been a pattern, a theme of white individuals committing live hate crimes, even admitting to the world, yes, I'm racist. So what? And when they're held accountable to the law, whatever that means in America, hundreds of thousands of dollars are being invested and generated through crowdfunding resources for these individuals to essentially walk away. Americans are investing through crowdfunding resources into the very same hatred, murder, and discrimination they swear doesn't even exist. Is American society the problem? Why are groups, sponsors, and individuals investing into the very same hatred they swear against? What is going on? Is America the problem? So I have some research here. The social media influencer known as Chud the Builder, legal name Dalton Etherly, was arrested following a violent altercation outside the Montgomery County Courthouse in Clarksville, Tennessee. The man is out here fighting outside the courthouse. Black people, they getting hung on a cross, fighting outside Burger King, Wendy's. This man out here fighting outside of the courthouse. Clarksville, Tennessee, Etherly, who built an online following of over 220,000 users by live streaming himself hurling racial slurs. You can amass over 200,000 followers by being how or your is American culture is the American psychology even aware of how they perpetuate the very same violent crimes they swear against? You guys will huddle around in the hundreds of thousands around people who slur, discriminatory, prejudice, hate-filled comments, but you'll sit up here and attack individuals who are doing the right thing, barely want to support them. Is America the problem? The American psychology, is it like a curse morally? And it's like almost crystallizing. Are you guys the problem? I think you're the fucking problem. I think you're the fucking problem. So not only are you guys amassing to support people who perpetuate this shit, you're even financing them. The courthouse incident escalated into gunfire, resulting in the hospitalization of both Etherly and another man. Etherly has been charged with criminal attempted murder, aggravated assault, and reckless endangerment with a deadly weapon. Following his arrest, a judge set his preliminary bond at $1.25 million. Despite the severity of the attempted murder charge and a well-documented history of targeted harassment, Etherly's supporters quickly mobilized. Utilizing alternative crowdfunding platforms like Give, Send, Go, a campaign was launched to assist with his massive legal expenses and bond requirements, rapidly raising over $200,000. Americans came together and pooled $200,000 to support a man legally with a career of racism, harassment, prejudice, attempted murder. Is America the fucking problem? And Black people need to be paying attention to this. It's not just President Trump. It's not just the lawmakers. It's not just, the red side or the blue side. It's America. You have to accept that. Sometimes I feel like Black folks are like the Israelites in a lot of ways, where God is trying to free you guys from the Egyptian system, from that hard iron rule. The Israelites didn't want to leave. Oh, this man is dragging us out here to the middle of nowhere. We had such a good life in Egypt. And I'm not saying we should just throw in a towel and abandon fighting for our people. However, we got to rearrange the intentions behind the fight. You're not going to change the American morale and this hatred that they have positioned themselves in against the African American. These people are now financing the racism. And what does this teach the younger community? In his crowdfunding appeal, Etherly attempted to minimize his actions, framing his documented history of weaponized racism as edgy, harmless humor, and defending his right to speak freely. So let's look at this pattern of crowdfunding hate and violence in America. This phenomenon is part of a broader systemic trend in America where individuals who commit racially motivated offenses or acts of violence against minorities receive significant financial windfalls from public donors. The Wisconsin Cinnabon incident. In December 2025, a white employee named Crystal was filmed at a Cinnabon in Ashwaubenon, Wisconsin, launching a racist tirade against a black Somali Muslim couple. The encounter began when she mocked the woman's hijab, and it escalated until the employee explicitly shouted racial slurs, flipped off the couple, and proudly declared, I am racist, and I'll say it to the whole entire world. But you know who she's saying it to? She's not saying it to the entire world. She's saying it to her white constituents, her Asian constituents, her Indian constituents, her Hispanic constituents. These non black people are banding together against the black community. Why do you think the cost of living is so high in these communities? Because they don't want black people there because they know we stand for something. That's all we've been known for psychologically in the minds of these identity extremists of these non-black communities is standing for truth, dying for truth. But as black people, we have to understand we're not going to change people who are choosing to live a life of misalignment, violence, and harassment and enmity towards you. You're not going to change them. It's to the point now where they're giving you more and more evidence every racial incident that not only are you not going to change us, we're going to finance this thing. That's how much we hate you guys. And black people are very proud. I love my people, but we're also very stubborn, where we will keep fighting. We will keep fighting. But what is it? What are you worth to your kids and to your families dead fighting something that you're not going to change? And I know there's an argument of, well, we can't leave and abandon the people that are here. And then if we go somewhere else, but in the Bible, it talks a lot about how his people are going to be like pilgrims. We're going to be traveling the world, navigating the world. Maybe this just isn't our fight. Maybe we need to be educating our people on take care of your home first. We're not going to change people in this world who have determined to set themselves up against us. It's not going to work. Following her immediate termination, guess what? A counter crowdfunding campaign was launched on her behalf, while a fundraiser for the victimized couple only struggled to get over $5,000. The campaign supporting the fired worker amassed over $118,000 damn dollars, accompanied by donor statements explicitly validating the harassment. The Minnesota playground incident. Earlier in 2025, a Minnesota woman named Shiloh Hendricks, was filmed hurling explicit racial slurs at a black child, for Christ's sake, with autism at a public park. After facing disorderly conduct charges and widespread public condemnation, sympathetic online donors utilized Christian crowdfunding platforms to raise hundreds of thousands of dollars for her, heavily outpacing any localized support for the victimized family. This framework mirrors older, high profile cases where white individuals who killed or harmed Black Americans became central figures for conservative and right wing fundraising. Kyle Rittenhouse raised millions for his legal defense after killing two people during civil rights unrest in Kenosha, Wisconsin. Similarly, Travis McMichael, McMichael, and William Rody Bryan, the men convicted of chasing down and murdering Ahmaud Arbery while he was jogging in Georgia, received substantial early financial support from online sympathizers, attempting to shield them from accountability. These Americans are financing and supporting the very same people that are perpetuating the violent crime and animosity that's brewing up in this country that they're complaining against. They're financing it. These people in America are financing the very same problems they're trying to stand up. It's madness. It's like Americans, and the majority of you guys are non-black, and there's a percentage of black people too. It's like you're in a state of psychosis where your mind is just completely distorted and corrupted. What message does this send to Black America and the youth? When hundreds of thousands of dollars are funneled to individuals who weaponize racial slurs or engage in violence against Black people, it sends a devastatingly clear message to the Black community. Your safety, your dignity, and your lives are viewed by a significant segment of the population as secondary to the protection of white supremacy. It signals that racism is not merely an individual character flaw, but a financially viable enterprise. For Black Americans, seeing a perpetrator rewarded with life changing sums of money for destroying their sense of peace or safety reinforces a deep seated historical trauma. That in the eyes of many fellow citizens, the preservation of anti Black hostility is a cause worthy of active investment. This dynamic tells Black communities that the legal and social systems designed to protect them can easily be bypassed or neutralized by a decentralized web of financial sympathizers who will happily pay to keep racial terror consequence free. So you're basically training a lot of these. Chud the Builder, you better believe he was paying attention to the Shiloh Hendricks, to the McMichaels, to all these presidents in America of white crime, white violence, and harassment racially against black people, and the profit in this. And he's just hopping on the bandwagon. Hey, there's some money in this. There's some money in this. And not only that, there's exposure. So you guys in America, you're so under a state of psychosis and mental illness through the curse of madness that God has placed on you. And I firmly believe that you don't realize how you're just funding and financing the very same problems that are destroying your community. You're self-destructive. American culture is a self-destructive, self-perpetuating cycle of madness and psychosis. And black people need to be asking themselves, where are our priorities? Are we going to fight? Are we going to change white people? White identity extremists? Are they going to change? And I'm mindful that not all white people are like this. Not all Hispanics and Asians are like this, but majority, because that's why the system is continuing and so much money, hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars is being raised for these perpetrators. Are you going to change them? Is your life worth risking and dying for, leaving behind kids that have no parents, parents who have lost their children for a system that's still not going to change? Is it truly worth it? Is what I'm thinking about. It teaches young people that hatred is marketable, that bigotry can be monetized, and that accountability can be bought off. When children see an influencer or a retail worker break the law, degrade minorities, and subsequently get showered with wealth and internet stardom, it distorts their understanding of justice and morality. It normalizes prejudice, signaling to white youth that they possess a financial and social safety net that will catch them even if they commit heinous acts of bias or violence. This dynamic deepens the structural divide across America because it proves that the nation's core crisis cannot be voted away, legislated out, or solved by a change in the presidency. The underlying issue is deeply embedded within American culture itself, a culture that actively subsidizes, protects, and validates racial violence from the ground up, making systemic unity impossible, so long as hate remains a highly profitable commodity. Madness. How is this described in the Bible? What is madness? King James, Deuteronomy 28:28. The Lord shall smite thee with madness and blindness and astonishment of heart. In the context of this writing, the Hebrew term used, shigon, denotes a total shattering of the rational mind and inner peace, leaving a community unable to find its way or distinguish truth from delusion. America is in a state of madness. The cultural fabric, morally, ethically, is striked with condemnation and a curse of madness. To understand how this concept applies directly to the modern commodification and marketing of hate crimes, we look to the socio-political and psychological definitions through the Oxford English Dictionary and clinical sociology frameworks define madness in this specific capacity as a state of severe foolishness, intensity of chaotic folly, or a radical deviation from consensus reality, specifically manifested as a collective psychosis. I believe white identity extremists, white supremacists, whatever you guys call yourself, are under a collective psychosis, an illness, or cultural delusion, wherein a society's moral framework is inverted, causing harmful, destructive, or irrational behaviors to be treated as valuable, profitable, and socially acceptable. This particular definition perfectly mirrors the reality of today's cultural landscape in the US society. When ordinary citizens utilize digital crowdfunding platforms to funnel hundreds of thousands of dollars to individuals who commit hate crimes, it is no longer just individual prejudice, it is a collective, systemic madness. It represents a complete break from an empathetic reality. In this state of cultural delusion, hatred is no longer viewed as a shameful act of violence. Instead, it is reframed, marketed, and bought into as a bankable product. The madness, quote unquote, lies in the fact that a segment of the population looks at a manifestation of cruelty and sees a financial investment opportunity, proving that the society has become so morally disoriented that it enthusiastically subsidizes its own ethical decay. It's a madness. And you can't fault black folks for leaving in mass exodus to take care of their family, take care of their mental health, to heal, because you're not going to change the system. The curse of madness, as framed through the lens of Deuteronomy 28:28, manifests in the modern American populace as a profound disorientation of reality where the collective capacity for moral reasoning and basic human empathy is entirely shattered. This psychological and spiritual blindness expresses itself when citizens look at an explicit act of racial terror or an attempted murder, and instead of feeling a natural human instinct of horror, they experience a perverse urge to reward the perpetrator. It is a state of being smitten with astonishment of heart, a complete paralysis of the conscience that causes individuals to grope in a moral darkness so dense that they can no longer distinguish between a predator and a victim. By funneling millions of dollars into the pockets of violent extremists, these supporters demonstrate a radical detachment from shared societal values, operating under a delusion that protects harm while treating accountability as an injustice. This cultural madness further expresses itself through a manic, chaotic inversion of truth, where hatred is actively commodified and celebrated as virtue. Supporters of these crimes exist in a frantic state of grievance driven by an irrational fear that compels them to rally behind figures of hostility to preserve an artificial hierarchy. This is the ultimate manifestation of the curse. A society so utterly confused in mind that it invests its wealth into its own moral decay, believing that bankrolling violence will bring security. The madness is visible in the everyday nature of this behavior. Ordinary people, comfortable in their homes, using modern technology to enthusiastically subsidize cruelty. It reveals a culture that has lost its internal compass, wandering blindly into division while aggressively financing the very forces that ensure its collective ruin. America is paying for its own self destruction, man. And this is what white people do. These white identity extremist people who are not children of the Lord, of the Most High, who are not implementing the Word of God. They try to project and infiltrate the minds of different foreigners, Asian communities, Hispanic communities, non-black communities. They're in their impressionable minds and their vulnerable states with these sort of like decaying moral fabric sort of rules and belief systems, so that they have blind followers who come in and they just fall in line. They just fall in line with the self destruction. And seeing that you don't have any list of people who are donating, you don't have any list of these donors or the people that are investing into the hate, because they're not going to reveal the names. They're not going to tell you. So that creates a sense of like paranoia, right? You don't know if it's your neighbor. You don't know who is truly an ally to the black community in this country, because they hide these names, they keep them private. All these donors who are investing into the very same hate that they try to, argue against. Are white communities really safe? These white identity extremist communities, are they more safe truly? Or is it sort of like a illusion of safety, that the underlying machinery of it is prejudice, discrimination, hatred? We're going to use the law and use the leverage that we have in society to alienate and ostracize you and put so much fear in you to the extent where you're completely just, you know, exiled out of the community. It's not even safe in these dominated white communities for a black man. You're not safe. And white people try to make it seem like, oh, our communities are so much more safer, or our communities are so much more better. Not when you're financing the very same hate through crowdfunding, not when you're not standing up and fighting against the same demon and demonic principles that are running in your communities as white folks, that are further perpetuating these issues. I think Donald Trump just created a $1 billion fund for many of the protesters and the violence that was going on in the Capitol. Is America the problem? I think America is the problem. Even when I was with the Marine Corps and in the US military, I'm still getting hatred and pressure from white people in the fucking military. I'm trying to fight, do the right thing for my country. And these folks are trying to ruin my career, ruin my reputation, making up lies about me. Oh, Randy didn't do this, Randy didn't do that. So even when you join the US military, you're still getting prejudice and racism. You can't escape the hatred and the prejudice and racism in American society as a black person. I'm even questioning, was it even the right thing for me to join the military? Was I fighting on the right team? Or was I, blindly on the side of my enemies and people who would rather see me better off dead? It's just how this thing is constructed morally and ethically in America. It's demonic. It's demonic. And I believe there is a curse of madness on the society and on the people. I believe that. You see it in people, just this hatred at hello. You don't even know these people. You're just minding your business, doing the right thing. I'm not talking about people who bring the hatred on them. You're just doing the right thing, taking care of your kids, trying to be a hardworking citizen, and you still get hatred. You still getting animosity. That's why I don't cut my comments on in these videos, because I'll fight back with you, and it distracts me from what I'm doing on YouTube. But I know a lot of you guys are just hating. And the people that are meant to be for this channel will be for this channel. But a lot of you guys you're just haters. You're just evil. So I make it to where if you really want to leave an opinion, you're gonna have to put in some work. Do it after the video. Leave a comment. We'll go back and forth. But I'm not gonna go back and forth with you during my lives. And that's why a lot of black people got to reorganize their values and their priorities. Why do you want to capitalize off of a people who are morally and ethically corrupted and who don't even have a strong leg to stand on in terms of doing the right thing? Why do black folks want to black people got to understand what's for everybody is not for us. We got to get out of this shit. Oh, they got it. We should get it. No, we're not like them. We're not like them. That's why we're still in this situation centuries and centuries later. They're not like us. We're not like them. God set us apart as a black community. So focusing on getting brand deals and getting signed and getting contracts and things like that, that shit is a trap for you, black folks. Because once you get into these deals and you get into these brands, which are dominated by white people, and a lot of times the higher you get into the totem pole and the wealth elite, they don't want a lot of you niggas around their daughters, their kids, their communities, but they want to profit off of you and capitalize off of you. And then you silence yourself when you get these deals. You're locked in. You're locked into the system. The system is a beast. Your hands are tied. You got the golden handcuffs on. You can't do shit because you want to get this money. You want to keep this contract. Black folks should not be focusing on fucking brand deals. You should not be focusing on getting basically handcuffed into the very same system that is profiting off of your people's suffering. And I get it. Well, how are we going to make money? How by coming together and bringing your damn resources together. That's how you build wealth. That's how you prosper. Bringing your minds together. The more you guys divide it, and the more you guys are warring against each other and fighting against each other, the more you're going to opt in for essentially hanging yourself through these brand deals, do these contracts, do these monetizations where you're locked in. Especially once the money start flowing in and they're offering you all this cash, you're locked in. And it's going to silence you, and you're basically going to be a part of the system. But Americans don't even recognize, man, through crowdfunding and supporting these individuals, man, who commit these racial atrocities, murder, and financing the shit. And then you gonna sit up here and try to tell me about black on black violence and what black people doing, but your people are sitting up in here financing and proud of being racist. What that woman saying, Cinnabon, yeah, I'm racist. I'll tell the whole world. No, you're gonna tell all these white folks that you know are gonna sit up here in the line with you and fund your fucking foolishness. You know who you talking to because the whole world don't side with that shit. America is the problem. It's demonic. They're cursed with madness. And black people, you gotta understand, you're not gonna change them. You're not gonna change them. Is it okay to fight for your people, represent your people, support your people? Absolutely. But you're not gonna change the system and this machine. Cultural madness further expresses itself through a manic, chaotic inversion of truth where hatred is actively commodified and celebrated as a virtue. It's sick, man. And they're gonna keep financing more murderers, more harassers, because these younger white folks and these younger non-black people, they're paying attention to the Chud the Builders, they're paying attention to the Shiloh Hendrickses, they're paying attention to the Big Michaels, and they're like, man, I can get paid off of hating these black folks. I can get paid off of harassing them and I can amass 200,000, 300,000 followers. America is sick. You guys, you know who I'm talking to because you got that hatred probably just on fire and you listening to this, you're sick. And this video probably won't do much because it's just a sick culture. But the people who is meant to reach and the people who is meant for, they'll get the message. They'll get the message. But America is the problem. It's a sick, morally corrupt environment. And Black people need to revisit their priorities. Is this system worth fighting for? God gave numerous examples of situations where his people had to leave environments like this. You've always had people who want to fight against it. No, we're going to stay here. No, Lot's wife, the Israelites, I mean, just on and on. And he couldn't fully judge these environments, with many of the righteous still there because he's a compassionate and loving God. So even the hard lessons that this country needs to learn, they're not going to learn it as long as you Black folks, you righteous Black folks keep staying here. I believe that. Because in my opinion, I'm like, man, just leave and let these people kill each other and fight amongst themselves. They don't want to change. Eventually, it's going to come to a point where if you still here the next 30, 40 years and still perpetuating this evil and this hatred and financing this stuff, and you still here, you're evil. And you can even see it by the people who continue to remain here and don't have any sort of like momentum to even fight against the shit. They're corrupt. They're evil. They're selfish. Selfishness is a form of evil too. They're numb. They don't really care about anything but themselves. America is becoming a selfish, evil, sort of inward, corrupt, morally environment. And the people that are going to still be here, especially if situations remain the same, they're just a product of the poison, man. Sometimes you got to set apart yourself. Sometimes you got to remove yourself from environments like this and recognize that the fight is not your fight. It's the fight for the Lord.